You've done everything people told you to do. You skipped breakfast, you counted calories, you forced yourself through exhausting workouts, and yet, every morning the same stubborn layer of belly fat stared back at you. After a while, you stopped blaming the diet. You started blaming yourself. Maybe your metabolism was broken. Maybe you were getting older. Maybe you simply didn't have enough discipline. But here's the painful truth almost nobody tells you. Your belly fat may not be refusing to disappear because you're eating too much. It may be refusing because your body thinks it's protecting your life. That's the part that changes everything. And if that's true, then every time you've tried to fight your body harder, you may have accidentally convinced it to hold on even tighter. Stay with me.
This invisible biological mistake has fooled millions of people.
Most people believe fat is simply stored calories, like money sitting in a bank account. Eat less, withdraw more. Problem solved. Simple. Except your body doesn't operate like a bank, it behaves more like a city preparing for a dangerous storm. Imagine thousands of workers receiving emergency instructions. The mayor isn't asking them to build new parks. He's telling them to lock the warehouses, protect the supplies, prepare for uncertainty. Your fat cells receive similar messages, not through words, through hormones. And here's the critical thing to understand. Your body doesn't care how badly you want visible abs. It cares whether it believes you're safe. That's why two people can eat the same meal, exercise the same amount, and still store fat completely differently. It isn't always about calories. It's about signals. Signals that quietly decide whether energy is burned or hidden away. This is exactly why researchers at institutions like Harvard have spent years studying the language your cells use to make these decisions. Because the body isn't guessing, it's calculating every second. One of the most important messengers in that calculation is a hormone you've heard about countless times, insulin.
Most people think insulin only controls blood sugar.
That's true, but it's only half the story. Insulin also acts like a warehouse manager. Every time it rises, it starts asking one question: should we store energy or release it? If insulin stays elevated too often, the answer becomes almost automatic. Store, store again, and keep storing, especially around the abdomen. I know, that sounds strange, because you've probably been told that eating less should automatically lower body fat. Sometimes it does. But here's what most people completely miss. Your body doesn't respond only to how much food arrives. It responds to the biological environment surrounding that food. Stress changes it, sleep changes it, movement changes it, even meal timing changes it. That's why two identical lunches can create very different hormonal responses in two different people. And that's where everything changes. Researchers began noticing something surprising while studying metabolic disease. People weren't simply gaining fat because they lacked discipline. Many were trapped inside a hormonal pattern that quietly kept telling their fat cells to stay locked. Your body wasn't being stubborn. It was following instructions perfectly. Then scientists discovered another cellular switch working behind the scenes, one that acts almost like a maintenance crew inside every cell. When it's activated, your cells begin shifting from constant growth toward repair. When it stays quiet, the opposite happens. Growth keeps winning. Storage keeps increasing. That pathway has a name, AMPK. And the surprising part is that AMPK and insulin behave almost like two managers fighting over the same factory. One says, store more. The other whispers, repair first. Who wins determines far more than your waistline. It influences how your cells age, how efficiently they burn fuel, and whether your body believes it's living through abundance or finally has permission to clean house. But here's the part nobody talks about. There's one everyday habit quietly silencing AMPK before it ever has a chance to help. And millions of people repeat it every single morning without realizing they're making stubborn belly fat even harder to lose. It starts before breakfast, sometimes before your first sip of coffee. Not with what you eat, with how often your body is forced to deal with food. Here's the part nobody talks about. Every snack, every sweetened drink, every handful of crackers, every healthy granola bar sends another message to insulin. Stay on duty. For a short time, that's completely normal. The problem begins when insulin barely gets a chance to rest. If the warehouse manager never leaves work, the warehouse never opens to release its supplies. Your fat cells aren't emptying because your body keeps hearing the same instruction. Store, protect, wait. That's why constant grazing can quietly work against you, even when you're choosing foods that seem healthy. And this is where it gets dark. When insulin remains elevated for long periods, AMPK, the cellular maintenance crew we talked about, becomes much less active. Instead of repairing damaged components and encouraging stored fuel to be used, your cells stay focused on growth and storage. It's like hiring an entire cleaning crew, then locking them outside the building. Most people never realize this. The battle isn't happening in your mirror. It's happening inside millions of cells you can't see. The good news? Your body can change those instructions surprisingly fast when you give it the right signals. Here's what changes everything. Your morning sets the biological tone for the entire day. Instead of reaching for a sugary breakfast, begin with protein. Eggs, plain Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, or tofu if you prefer plants. Why? Protein slows digestion, steadies blood sugar, and reduces large insulin spikes. Your body receives a calmer message instead of an emergency signal. Then, within an hour or two, take a brisk 20 to 30-minute walk. Not because walking burns huge amounts of fat, because contracting your muscles allows them to pull glucose from your bloodstream more efficiently, giving insulin less work to do. Stay with me. This is the part that matters. At midday, build your meal around fiber first. Leafy greens, broccoli, beans, lentils. Then add lean protein like salmon, chicken, or legumes, followed by healthy fat such as olive oil or avocado. Fiber slows the release of glucose. Protein supports muscle. Healthy fats increase satisfaction, making unnecessary snacking less likely. Your hormones notice every one of those decisions. Here's where it gets counterintuitive. You don't need to starve yourself. For many people, simply allowing a consistent overnight fasting window of about 12 to 14 hours gives AMPK more opportunity to support your cell's natural housekeeping processes. It's not magic, it's biology. And before bed, protect the one habit many people underestimate. Sleep. Aim for 7 to 9 consistent hours.
Poor sleep raises cortisol, your primary stress hormone.
Chronically elevated cortisol makes it harder for your body to regulate blood sugar and encourages fat storage around the abdomen. Your body isn't trying to punish you, it's trying to survive what it interprets as ongoing stress. See the pattern? Morning protein, midday movement, fiber-rich meals, a gentle overnight fasting window, deep, consistent sleep. None of these habits seem dramatic alone, but together they create a completely different biological environment. One signal becomes two become five become thousands of tiny instructions your cells receive every single day. That's how real change happens, not through punishment, through better information. Your body wasn't broken, it was responding exactly as it was designed to. When you change the signals, your biology begins changing with them. And the most remarkable part is that these small changes don't just influence belly fat. They affect energy, inflammation, healthy aging, and how efficiently your cells repair themselves over time. But there's another hidden player almost nobody connects to stubborn belly fat. It's quietly disrupting your metabolism while you sleep, and it has nothing to do with calories. What researchers discovered about this invisible nighttime process could completely change the way you think about fat loss forever.